So for me, the most important thing in a tamale is the way that it's wrapped. Not so much for the surprise effect, but also for the flavors that could be imparted into that from the wrapping. And so now I'm going to show you how to make some tamales. And instead of wrapping them in a leaf, we're actually going to blend up some leaves of various different veggies, and we'll put that into the masa itself. And so, they will give it a color, they will give it a flavor, and the fragrance will actually be imparted into the tamale itself. Now, there's one good friend of mine who's a chef, and actually all of us all know each other. If you meet one Mexican chef, he probably knows all the others, and we'll get on really well together. We're very good friends, and I really admire his work, he admires mine, and we share a lot of techniques. And so there's this particular chef in Jalisco who's Francisco Urbano, and he made something like this. And instead of putting your corn-based masa in a leaf, he wrapped it in a little bit of cling wrap like this. Maria Arsac, who's a Spanish cook, did a kind of a flor de huevo in using this technique, using cling film. And so Francisco once decided to make a tamal like this in cling film. And it was a kind of an unusual idea. And so our techniques do vary. We get a little bit playful with our experimentation. What we do is we have a kind of masa that can be used in other different masas, which we call tamal colado, and it's a very liquid sauce. It's a very liquid kind of thing, and then we put this together with the juice from quite a few different herbs, and it makes it quite liquid. After this, you have to strain it. You put it through a chinois strainer, and then you need to put it in basically vacuum packed and hold it like this in cling wrap for 20 minutes, and then once it's cooked like this, it still holds the form, and it's got all those flavors mixed in. So what I'm going to do is put together a dish for you. I don't know if you're actually able to see. Are you able to see from there? Yeah, okay. Well, if I work here, you'll be able to watch. Fine. So what I'm going to... This is basically the point of culmination, what I was getting to all along. I'm going to help you to understand this tamal colado. And it's helpful for you, I think, to understand kind of the process through which we've gone to get to this point of culmination. And so this is all, I think, linked to what's going on throughout Mexico with the this new generation of chefs and cooks who are trying to elevate traditional dishes that form part of our identity, bringing back techniques that are from those who learned overseas, but we're coming back to our roots here. And this generation, I think, who is trained locally, enjoying local ingredients and blending those techniques from elsewhere. Now we're presenting a whole new culinary reality. And I think there is a kind of dialogue between the traditionally trained and the newly trained chefs, and this dialogue is what I'm really showing you today. So here we've got all of these, but all of the different ingredients are actually already in this tamal. So this particular one is made with fennel and with leaves of celery. And what I've got over here is from its inspiration from Huatalca, and they've taught us how to make this sauce. And what I really like about this particular restaurant is this creative freedom that we have, that people understand that they're really working with local products, and I think I've got a lot to learn from the people with whom I work. The Guadalajara chef who came up with this sauce really inspired me because of that. And so we're trying to Mexicanify our dishes, because what we found is that if you don't really know much about Mexican culture, and you just if you go to eat in Baja California, and if you're thinking that you're going to see Mexicans walking around with huge broad-brimmed hats with their tequila under their arm, you might be disappointed. It's not like that in Baja California. You say, okay, well, this is really nice, but it's not actually Mexico. And so sometimes it's difficult to explain to visitors that this is part of Mexico. And by putting dishes out there like this one, we're kind of filling in some gaps, getting them to see the heart of Mexico, and we're trying to show that this kind of thing can appeal to many different palates. So this is what here we're talking about a huachaco amarillito, and there are the 8 different ingredients that come from the usual traditional moles, but the ones from Oaxaca tend to be white-colored. And the Nahuatl word muji actually describes this. So that's why guacamole is called that, because it's a salsa or a mole made of aguacate, which is avocado. So that's why guacamole has that name. Now here what we have is a bit of, we wanted sour cream, but I think here in France we're using crème fraîche, but any kind of sour cream will do the trick. Can I just ask you to empty that out a little bit? It was just about to freeze, this thing. Okay, we like to have a cream with our tamales. Not everybody puts cream with their tamales. Traditionally you wouldn't, but we like it with cream. A bit like if you're having purple tacos. So we like to put cream with it to give it a nice soft creamy texture, and it blends in a little bit with the sauce. So you've got your tamal, your sauce, your cream. All of the leftover organic waste from our restaurant goes into a compost, and we use that compost on our garden. And some herbs we actually burn to get this kind of ash, which then are used to flavor a good number of our dishes. And it could be from peppermint or basil or various different herbs. We can actually char them and come up with this delicious kind of ash that we use on fish or dishes like this one here. Sometimes we actually, before we roast fish, we will dust them in this flour of burnt ash before we roast them. So here we've got the amarillito sauce, we've got the layer of cream, and then this ash, this herb ash, and then we've got a little piece of chicken breast meat, or in this case duck meat, just to top it off. In our restaurant we use various different kinds of products.
Pero bueno, en el restaurante usamos distintas cosas. Realmente usamos como los subproductos o ingredientes.
But it really depends, if we have ribs that day, then we use ribs that day. If we have chicken or duck, then we use what we've got at hand. So here we've got rocket lettuce. This one is actually cooked rocket, and then we're going to have some parsnip. Dehydrated parsnip, just to offer a little bit of crunchy texture. So this will give a little crunch to the dish. And the occasional uncooked sprig of rocket lettuce. So here we have a Mexican dish, which is very well adapted to the locale in which we're living and working. Lots of greens that grow naturally around there. And most of this comes from our own garden restaurant, or from around the neighborhood. But it's totally made by hand, respecting the tradition of the region, and yet incorporating modern techniques, even though it's a traditional Mexican dish. So that's what I wanted to show you. Thank you.